Hello you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Samantha and I am the Gem Priestess. I am an energy healer who helps you to work through any kind of emotional trauma that you do have and how that affects the body. I teach on that. I help people heal and learn from that. You know, a lot of times in our past, our traumas, just things that we kind of experience from time to time, unfortunately. Our bodies are very strong, loving beings, and they will kind of absorb all of that trauma so that we're not necessarily feeling it, you know, kind of in our, you know, emotional heart or in our brain. Well, it'll kind of store it in us physically. And so then that leads to us having other kind of, you know, bodily issues, you know, back pains, menstrual issues, you know, headaches, just general even discomfort can definitely come from, you know, a lot of different othering factors in our lives other than just, oh, you know, like I woke up and like my knee hurts today or something. There's always something behind that. And so that is what I work with people one-on-one with. That is what I teach people. And that is what I'm here to do with you. So if you're wondering what the heck is that, how do you even get into that? How do you do that? Down in the description box will be a link to my website. You guys can click that, check that out, check out everything. I have stuff from, you know, what I do, why I do it, how I got into it, you know, how these things work. You can hear from past clients of mine. I have it all over there. So like I said, that is linked down in the description box. But for today's video has been a long requested video. I was requested, God, months and months and months ago. And, you know, someone did ask me, you know, where do I get my crystals? As an energy healer, you know, I'm a specialized certified crystal healer. So I have tons and tons and tons of crystals that I got from various different places. So I am here today to talk about, you know, kind of the different places where I get my crystals specifically, and, you know, just kind of where you can get yours, just kind of certain things to look out for, what I look out for when I'm looking for crystals, and just, you know, kind of all of that good stuff. We really help you to, you know, if you have a crystal collection, where maybe you can look up and, you know, different stores and stuff and see where you can get something new. If you don't have a crystal collection but you're wanting to get into crystals, and you're like, where do I start? How do I do this? That will be covered all in today's video. So definitely stay tuned for that, and let's just get into this. All right, so first things first, you know, if you are, you know, wanting to start in on your crystal collection, I remember when I first started out on mine many moons ago, I actually did talk about, you know, kind of this particular moment, just kind of in, you know, starting my spiritual journey. Did start really early, did start with crystals. I will link that video for you guys if you guys want to check that out. I have done that a good bit of time ago, unfortunately that it was just so long ago. But yeah, so starting with, you know, my spiritual journey, long story short, I was, you know, found myself upon a spiritual shop. I think I went, you know, just specifically for the books that were there. Came across a book that had, you know, crystals and chakras, and I was like, what the heck is that? And, you know, I was reading through it and I was super interested, and sure enough, in that store they did sell the exact crystals that were in that book. And that is what started me on my spiritual journey, started me on kind of my crystal collection journey, because from there I like skyrocketed. I was buying crystals all of the time. I was going to different places, buying crystals online, you know, getting crystals kind of any way that I can. So that's kind of how it started for me. I'm not saying it necessarily has to start for everybody else like that, but I personally think that that is kind of a good place to, you know, one of the good places to start. You know, obviously if you find yourself in a spiritual store or, you know, online or, you know, whatever, and you are somewhere and you see a crystal and it calls to you and you're super drawn to it, follow that. You know, that is your energy and the crystal's energy really connecting with one each other and really drawing you guys to each other. So I think that is a very special moment too when that happens for the first time with someone. I just think it's super magical. You know, it's really, you are, you know, extra feeling and extra aware of your energy and the energy of something else. So I think that that is a super beautiful, magical moment. So if that is something that happens to you or has happened to you, definitely follow that. That's your intuition, that's your guide. So definitely follow that. You don't want to not listen to that. But other than that, I think, kind of how it worked for me is also a really good way into getting into crystals. Really finding, crystals that work for these specific chakras, and what are the chakras and how does that really align for everything. Because crystals and chakras do go really well hand in hand. Crystals work really well with different specific chakras, as well as, whatever other properties that they do have. So I think that that is kind of a really good way to start, and kind of a good way to kind of navigate yourself if you're not having that connection. And if you don't have that connection with, a crystal when you're out somewhere, that's nothing bad. If you're not having that, that could mean so many different things. That could just be like, oh, well, whatever crystals are in today, I'm not really vibing with, or, oh, maybe your energy's not ready for the specific crystals, you're just not on the right vibrations of them. And you can come back and see those same crystals and then be really connected to them. And, that's something that has happened to me so many times, because, where I live, there's not a lot of good spiritual stores around me. So I'll go and, maybe I'll see, a sunstone. I saw a sunstone once and I was like, oh, like it's pretty, but like, I would just get it to, just kind of look at, the pretty crystal. And then, I went home and, was doing my stuff, came back, a good time a bit later, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm really feeling sunstone now. And I picked it up and I got it, and now it is in my collection. So it does, it's nothing bad if you're not feeling that connection yet. And, a lot of times even if that is the first time that you're feeling something, or if you've never felt that connection before, sometimes it's just really getting, used to that connection and really leaning on that. The more that you use that and you follow your intuition and stuff like that, it's really going to come a lot more faster and a lot better for you too. So if that is something that you're like, oh no, like I went to a crystal shop and that like didn't happen for me, that's nothing bad. Definitely don't think bad about that. Don't think there's something wrong with you or with the crystals, or that crystals aren't meant for you. If you want crystals, the crystals want you too, and they're meant for you. So definitely, I would stay with that. And in terms of, shopping for crystals, a lot of times, there have been times where, maybe the places that are selling the crystals are not selling authentic crystals. You definitely want to do your research on kind of just where you're going. There are some stores, I've seen that they, even sell crystals at stores like Five Below. I don't even know if they sell them at like Target and Walmart and stuff like that, but there are, stuff like that. So sometimes those aren't always going to be, kind of the best crystals. They might not even always be crystals. They might be, stained glass, or whatever, to kind of look like crystals, and that's why they kind of do have the price point that they have. But I also don't want price to discourage anyone. I guarantee you I've gotten crystals that are $1, $1.50, $2, whatever, going somewhere, and it is a legitimate place. They do source their crystals. So that is something that price, if you go somewhere and you see that there is a crystal that's priced really low, that doesn't mean that it's that it's not good, that it's not a good quality stone. It still can be. Different places do just price on where they get the stone, how big the stone is, is it raw, is it tumbled, all these other differing factors that do come into play in different types of crystals. So that is definitely something that kind of price isn't always going to be a factor on like, oh, is this a good crystal or not. And especially looking online, that was something that was really big for me during 2020. Obviously, I couldn't necessarily go out and go to, my favorite crystal stores. A lot of them were closed for a long time. So I did go out and I, was on Etsy looking at different stores and stuff. I did get crystals from, a bunch of different stores, and a lot of times stores like that will say where they get their crystals from. They'll have their little licensing thing. They will have, all of that stuff to note like, oh, hey, these crystals come from here, here, and here. And, this is where we get them from. And so those crystals obviously are always going to be very real, because that is where those crystals are from. That is where those crystals are home to. So even though obviously the person who has the Etsy shop didn't go and fly out there and, get them themselves and then come home and is now selling them, they do get them from somewhere else. There's other people in the chain, but, those are still, ethically sourced crystals. Those are still going to be real crystals. So yeah, with different crystals naturally have different shapes, just with, kind of the, not to get sciencey, but with the chemical compounds of, the varying crystals, that's what makes them the way that they are. So not all crystals are going to be shaped the same, are going to even have the same feel. Like I have this fluorite here, obviously was kind of cut like this, but you can even feel just kind of how, it's kind of form. It feels different than if I have, this stick of selenite. These are very different stones. They feel very different. They're shaped very differently. That doesn't mean, kind of one is more or is better than the other, or one is more real than the other. They are still both very much real. They are still, they're just very different crystals. So, if you go out and you're like, oh my gosh, that did happen to me when I was first starting. I was like, what the heck? A lot of my first stones were tumbled stones. A lot of my stones in my collection are just tumbled stones. Just for me, I carry stones a lot around with me a lot. So tumbled stones do just work better for that. I can fit them in my purse a little bit better. So that's just what works for me. So I remember first coming across, kind of raw stones, and I was like, what is that? Like, that can't be real. That can't, that's not how that works. That's totally how it works. I just didn't know, I'm starting out. I'm like, what is going on? So, different types of crystals do have different shapes and feels and, are texturally different. And so, all of those crystals are still like good and valid too. So that is definitely, just kind of some things to look out for and really, kind of focus and pay attention to when you are, looking for crystals and you are, trying to go out and, start your collection, kind of up your collection, things like that. These are going to be really great things just to kind of look and kind of note for when you are, out looking, for crystals. But in terms of, crystals and things that I think that you should definitely kind of look out for, that is kind of, those are really kind of my big things, really things that you should kind of look at and, be careful for, be kind of a little weary for, if you are questioning, if you're somewhere and you're like, oh, I don't know if this crystal is good. I don't know if this crystal is, really, just kind of anything like that. You can always, come home and, kind of look at it. A lot of times if you go into spiritual stores, you can talk to someone there. They will let you know where their crystals are from. They will let you know kind of, stuff like that. So, if you are going, obviously if you're going somewhere, like I said, I've seen so many crystals at Five Below, and some of them at Five Below are, really are legit, and some of them, aren't. So it is a little harder to tell with that. And unfortunately you can't really go and ask them because they're not really a spiritual store. They do just kind of get, a big shipment from, whatever their corporate headquarters, so they don't really know. But if you do go into a spiritual shop and you do have questions, don't be afraid to ask people. I have specific, crystal stores around me or spiritual shops around me that I do frequent at a lot, even so to the point where, the owners do know me. I'll walk in there and they'll be like, oh my gosh, hey, I haven't seen you in so long. Even with, the pandemic and lockdown, obviously I didn't go to a crystal shop for, a year or more, give or take. And, I went into a specific crystal store that, I've, been to plenty of times. And she was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you guys in so long. How are you? So really, people who work in spiritual stores and crystal shops and stuff like that are some of the nicest and sweetest people ever. So if you have any questions about anything, if, you're wanting to look something up or know something, whatever it may be, those people will definitely help you. They are, like I said, some of the sweetest souls that I've ever met. I love everyone that I come into contact with in, different spiritual stores. So, that is kind of, again, just kind of my spiel about that. So, you know, definitely if you have any questions, you can definitely ask them. If you have any questions about specific crystals that, you know, maybe you're just kind of, it's 2 a.m. and you're just kind of wondering, you guys can always, you know, comment down below, and even down in the description box, I will link my Instagram and my Twitter, so you guys can, you know, even if you want, shoot me a DM over there. I post content all the time over, you know, on those various sites too, so you guys can comment something there. Like I said here, I love getting back to you guys in my comment section, love getting back to you guys in my DMs, love seeing you guys reach out to me. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for, you know, kind of what to look out for when going to, you know, buying crystals, going to a spiritual shops, things like that. If you have any other questions, again, leave a comment for me down below. But that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and I cannot wait until I see you guys next time. Bye-bye.